Mhm.
Okay, so welcome to the late night chat, and the subject tonight is Baba's silence, and I hope you've done your homework. And no, I'm just joking. Um, now, uh, Marta, who have you choosing here to read that email?
I was wondering if Rich would like to read it.
Who?
Rich, you.
Me? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Dear folks of Baba's Gift of Silence, as we approach the 100th anniversary of Baba's Silence, which he began on July 10th, 1925, I thought it would be valuable to focus on in depth on something so central and integral to his work. Are there quotes, poems, songs, stories about his silence that have a special meaning for you? Is there some way that his silence has a significant place in the quiet of your inner life? Here are two stories about Baba's silence that made a powerful impact on me. Both come from what I heard Eruch share over the years in Mandali Hall. Fortunately, one of the stories is in print in Eruch's own words, but the second story is only as I remember him relating it in Mandali Hall some 40 or 50 years ago. The first story, I believe, took place at Marizod. Earlier, apparently, Eruch had criticized one of the servant boys in a loud voice. Later in Mandali Hall, Baba asked the men, Mandali, seemingly out of the blue, why do people shout at one another when they are angry? We said they shout because they are angry and they want to express their anger. And Baba responded, yes, they can express their anger that way, but even if someone is seated at their side, they will shout at that person. Could they not speak softly? We volunteered different explanations, saying different things which came to mind at the time, but our answers did not satisfy Baba. He gave us the answer. When a person is angry with another person, he said that that person is far removed from his heart and distance is created between them. That's why the physical reaction is to shout. And the greater the distance, the greater the shouting. Love disappears, and one goes on shouting at the other, who in turn barks back at him. Then he barks, and so it goes on and on. But Baba did not stop there. He doubtlessly wanted us to see the same thing from a different angle. So he continued, now take the other case of two people in love. When two individuals are in love with each other, how do they speak? They speak softly, we answered. Yes, Bob agreed. They do speak softly. And the greater the love between them, the softer is their tone of speech. And when they are still further in love, no words are needed. They just look at each other. And eventually, there is not even the need to look, no need at all. Erich continued, well, that is the reason why Meher Baba observed silence. There was no need for an exchange of words. It is very good to hear that, to be reminded that he was so very close to us, as he has said, I am closer to you than your very breath. The second story may also have taken place in Mandali Hall. Sometimes Baba would put a question before the men to see what they would say. On this occasion, he asked them, this is my paraphrase and not Baba's actual words, but the gist of what he said. People talk all day. Where do all the words go? The men gave a variety of answers, such as, the words just disappear into thin air. The question went around the hall, and each ventured a guess. But Baba was not satisfied. Eventually, he said, all the words collect like clouds and hang over whole cities like air pollution. My words. All over the world, this happens. My silence is to absorb all that noise so that each one can hear the voice of their own soul. I took this to mean that Baba's silence is definitely not a spiritual exercise for his own sake, but a monumental work of taking all pervasive noise of the world upon himself and transmuting it into silence so that we can turn inward and hear the voice of our own soul. Bearing this out, Erich quoted Baba referring to his silence. What a binding it is. But Erich added, It is a binding with a purpose for our sake. This is, as I remember from years ago, the scene that Eruch described with Baba and the men that day. In 1941, Baba's last message with Upasni Maharaj, Upasni with tears in his eyes, begged Baba to end his silence. To me, this meant that Baba must be enduring unspeakable suffering and remaining silent for the sake of his work for the world. Please feel free to share your thoughts and feelings about Baba's silence. Happy Silence Day. When asked when Baba was going to break his silence, Eruch once said, "When your heart cracks open and you begin to speak from your heart, then in you his silence has been broken. In his love, Jeff." Jai Baba.
Any questions there or anything? Because what I thought I'd do is Paula has, I guess, Padre's words on the day before Baba began his silence. So, Paula, wherever you are, my upper right corner.
Okay. Okay. Yes, it's on the left side of the page here where I am. It says, after a period of writing on slates and
Just a second, Paula.
Yes.
We're not seeing you.
Oh, you're not seeing me. Oh,
Just
okay.
your usual.
Oh, I don't. Oh, let me see. Rename, raise hand. Oh, I don't know why you're not seeing me.
We saw you earlier.
Really? Yeah, I don't know.
Click on your video.
Click on my video.
Yeah.
Oh, start video. There we are. Okay.
Ah, okay,
Okay.
good.
See me now? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. There I am. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So on the left-hand side of the page here, it just was like when I was thinking about Silence Day, I had purchased this book by Nashwan, the Living the Awakened Life with Mayor Baba, a few months ago, actually. And I opened the book, and it was the day the word was born, and it was Padre's like story about the night before the silence on July 10th, 1925. So it was just so perfect. So anyway, it says, Padre, one of Mayor Baba's closest disciples, was with Mayor Baba when he began silence on July 10th, 1925. Padre narrates the events of the day and evening preceding it. It was the year 1925, in the month of July. During this time, Mayor Baba's Mandali were living in a Tatya, Putra building called Makan, a house made from bamboo mattings and tin sheets. It was situated somewhere near the approach road leading toward the railway lines. Baba's needs were attended to by the women Mandali, who were living in separate quarters. Most of the day, Meher Baba passed his time in Makan, but used to retire to the Jopi, Baba's hut at Lower Mehrabad, for the night. I cannot recall whether Meher Baba had repeatedly mentioned keeping silence, as Pendu, another of the Mandali, and myself were running the dispensary and the hospital in the old Mehrabad building. But I very well remember the night of July 9th, 1925. Before retiring for the night, at about 8:30 p.m., Mayor Baba was his usual self, talking and giving instructions to the Mandali how to keep up and work as usual. As from the next day, he would become silent. At about 8:30 p.m., the final words, still ringing in my ears, were, "Now, I am going from tomorrow. I am not going to speak for 1.5 years. You will take care of everything as usual. Take care of your health. And when any of you go out to the Makan during the night to attend to your needs, always carry a lantern with you. and beware of snakes. I will do anything to help you in other difficulties, but I will not help you if you are bitten by a snake. So saying and finalizing the orders, he left the Makan for the Jopi. Am I saying that right, Jopi?
Jopti, yeah.
Jopti, yeah, okay. To retire for the night. The Mandali, too, were free to retire for the night, and we had about 5 minutes of conversation, after which everyone started unrolling their beddings. I did the same, and then taking a lantern, stepped out about 5 to 7 paces for the spot to relieve myself. Suddenly, by the light of the lantern, I saw a snake in my path about 20 feet ahead and shouted, "Snake, snake!" The Mandali rushed out with sticks and killed the snake. Mayor Baba, who was by now already in the Jodhpur, inquired about the commotion. We gave him the facts about the snake that was killed. He again enjoined about carrying a lantern and to beware of snakes. And finally he said, "Now I am going." And he went away. All this happened on the night of July 9th, 1925. When he came out as usual in the morning, he had already stopped talking. From the morning of the 10th, when we saw him, he had started observing silence. Since he had said that he would not speak for 1.5 years, a provision of school slate pens was made for Baba to write and convey his messages. For 1 year, Baba wrote on slates, and after this, to convey his words, recourse was found in an English alphabet board, which Chanji made of capital letters from a typewriter. Since the letters were very small, conveying messages was difficult. So one big alphabet board was made by hand. And this is how Mayor Baba began his silence. And it says here, this is the important quote that we always hear. Because man has been deaf to the principles and precepts laid down by God in the past, in this present avataric form, I observe silence. You have asked for and been given enough words. It is now time to live them. I repeat, I lay down no precepts. When I release the tide of truth, which I have come to give, men's daily lives will be the living precept. The words I have not spoken will come to life in them. I veil myself from man by his own curtain of ignorance and manifest my glory to a few. My present avataric form is the last incarnation of this cycle of time. Hence my manifestation will be the greatest. When I break my silence, the impact of my love will be universal, and all life in creation will know, feel, and receive of it. It will help every individual to break free from his bondage in his own way. I am the divine beloved who loves you more than you can ever love yourself. The breaking of my silence will help you to help yourself in knowing your real self. Meher Baba. Jai
Thank
Baba.
you. Thank you, Paula. Yeah.
You're very welcome.
So
Privilege.
this is about silence. So anybody who has something to share, feel free. I see Jerry Llewellyn, my old roommate from centuries ago, somewhere. Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, hi.
Yeah. Good. Oh, wow.
Tony, what do you have to say about silence?
Yes, let me turn off what I have here that's making noise. I was on my first trip to India in 72, around Amartithi time. I heard Padri tell this story, and I was just struck at how much the impact of some of these stories gets watered down when they're translated and retranslated and retranslated. So I just want to share the impact. When Padri said this, he said that Baba's last words after saying that everyone should attend to their responsibilities and all that other stuff, was, and when you go out at night, always carry a lantern. And if you see a snake, kill it. I will save you from any calamity but this. And asked if they understood, and they said yes. And Baba went into the cabin, into the jopti, and sometime later, some of the women saw a snake, and they started a big commotion, and Padre showed up, and he had his lantern, and he had his stick to kill the snake, and he killed it. At that moment, Baba came out of the jopti again and said, "What happened? What's going on?" And said, "Baba, there was a snake. The women saw it." And he said, "Were you carrying a lantern?" He says, "Yes, Baba." He says, "Good. And did you kill it?" He said, "Yes, Baba." And he said, "Again, whenever you go out at night, carry a lantern. And if you see a snake, kill it. I will say," I can hear Padre's voice. I wish I could impersonate it. "I will save you from any calamity but this." And then he went back and emerged the next morning silent. And I just want to add my piece is that, to me, it dawned on me one day, decades later, that this was like Jesus's parables. This was not just about the snakes in Meribah at that time. And Baba says, "You call my name for anything and I will come and help you." And here he says, "I'll save you from any calamity but this." The snake is the perfect symbol, the metaphor of the sociopath. 5% of people have no conscience and no capacity for empathy, and they're very dangerous. And they seem to be like regular people. In fact, they can be charming and they can seem like nice people, and they live to cause harm to others. They live to, like a snake, to bite and poison others. And Baba, to me, gave a warning, because we tend to want to be understanding of people, and they couldn't be bad because we can't fathom not having conscience or empathy. So I've always felt that was Baba's his last spoken words was that warning to us, that be alert for those snakes among you and behave accordingly. Carry a lantern so you'll recognize them, and not physically kill them, but, put them out of commission. So that's my Silent Stay story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, that's wild, Tony. I remember when Padre would be there at the Jopti, Baba's hut, I remember him saying, "He went into that cabin silent, talking, and
Okay.
came out silent." It's like, it would be like such a declaration somehow. But anyway,
Yeah, it's true that we can't really reproduce what he said, but his words do resonate forever within us because there was nobody like him. Padre was
yeah.
something.
Okay. Marta.
Oh, sorry, I'm saying Miss Candy, but Candy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, everything that is written about Baba's silence, it certainly resonates. But there's one angle of it that really resonates with me. And that is, so I always thought, knowing Mani and knowing Jal, the way they were, talking all the time and everything. And I thought Baba must be like that too. And so it must have been very hard for him. And then, as if to reaffirm what I thought, I read that Mehra said Baba's silence was his crucifixion. Now, and so what she also said was, no one's voice is as beautiful as Baba's. He sang with so much feeling. He had a love for singing, to deny himself, to sacrifice all this, and not even to hum either, is very difficult. Baba was so outgoing. He would want to tease someone. He was so talkative and full of fun. He would wink at one person and then go on talking seriously to another. So you knew he was having a joke with that person. His ways were like that when many were around. He couldn't be as spontaneous with gestures to say what he wished. For one who loves to talk, keeping silent was very difficult and a great sacrifice. And Naja observed, no one believed it when Baba first announced his plans to keep silence, because he was always so talkative, singing and joking. Before this time, Baba would sometimes say, I am talking too much, no? I talk the whole day long. Those of us at Meherbad simply could not imagine Baba, who used to chat incessantly, like Mani, keeping silence for an extended period. And so we can understand what Mehera meant when she said, or we can maybe a little bit understand, when she said that keeping silence was Baba's crucifixion. Just imagine it. So that's an angle of Baba's silence that I remember very strongly, actually. So,
Beautiful. And were you there when we read that the email? Because when Baba said, people speak all day. Where do the words go?
yeah, yes,
It
yes,
it's like he's took on all the noise of the world so that we could hear the voice of our own soul.
I know. And if you, yeah, I know. I did hear it. It was, yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible. And you just think about it, all that. I can just imagine that it was his crucifixion. Imagine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
for somebody like him. I mean, you remember Jal
Yeah.
and Mani, of course. We know, look how they are. I'm sure Baba was just like that,
Yeah.
chatty and very animated. And look at that. I mean, I think that's something tremendous to remember. And so anyway, I wanted to
Yeah.
bring that up.
Thank you, Candy. Yeah.
Go here. Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Baba.
So since Jeff, you stole my story, I was going to say the story about the first one that you mentioned in your letter about the
Yeah.
people shouting at each other. I said, oh, well, since Jeff has already mentioned that, now I've come up with something else. So I did my homework and I came up with a story that, I came up with something that Mani wrote in one of her family letters back in 1966. And I'll just read that to you. She says, Baba tells us he has come to release the flood of truth, that it will be released when he breaks his silence. We can imagine his silence as the dam that is holding in this full and absolute flood, this stupendous conservation of truth force that must not be released before the time of his giving is right, which will be when the season of our receiving is ripe. And as the moment draws near and the growing decades of time that the dam of his silence has endured press on it with increasing urgency, we see the strain telling upon his physical health. We recall his telling us at different times and in different words how difficult it is not to reveal himself. And we realize to what perfection he wears the guise of imperfection, that we might one day be perfect in him. Some of the close disciples, men and women who were with the beloved at the time his silence began, look back over the distance of 41 years, and tell us of what their memories can still perceive with undimmed clarity. They tell us how, shortly before the end of June 1925, Baba told them of his decision to observe a long period of silence. This decision of Baba, as the various sudden and unexpected decisions they had known him to make, the disciples accepted unquestioningly, unwonderingly. Theirs was not to question why. This was their Lord's wish, and that was enough for them. Their concern was to meticulously carry out his orders and the many daily duties entrusted by him to each. for no lapse of discipline or obedience would be brooked by Baba, who was unceasingly the master, as he was unreservedly the friend. The reaction of the women disciples was as womanly as it was heartwarmingly understandable. They just could not bring themselves to believe that Baba would keep complete and absolute silence. They knew speech to flow from him with the continuity and sparkle of a clear mountain stream. All through the day, they would hear his voice in the mercurial splendor of 100 moods, conversing, commanding, singing, laughing, discoursing, reprimanding, joking, storytelling, teasing, reminiscing. It was incredible to imagine that Baba would clang shut the gate of his oral eloquence. The last they heard of his beautiful voice was on the eve of his silence, when he said to them, "Hear well my voice. You will not hear it for a long time." That was 494 months ago. Recently, the beloved has been telling us not so much of the close at hand breaking of his silence, but of the monumental change that will come about on earth when he does so. One morning, while we were sitting at breakfast with Baba, and a hummingbird was hovering before a window pane in ecstasy of its own reflection, we got to talking of his silence. Illustrating for us the completeness of the transformation that will take place in the world after he breaks his silence, Baba cupped his left hand loosely over his right, as though he were holding a big ball, and then with a deft movement brought his right hand over his left in an absolute turnover of the imaginary ball's position. Upside down, one of us interpreted. With a half smile, Baba gestured, right side up. So with that, I wish you all a happy Baba-filled Silence Day. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Goer. Beautiful. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, Baba. Happy Almost Silence Day. I asked Baba for a poem today, and this one came out, and I haven't really had a chance to read it over yet. So you all, I guess, get to be kind of the first audience. But my voice seemed so real, so concrete, a thunderclap and dulcet tone in my presence, something you could grab onto and remember when I went away. But what if I told you that my spoken word, while perfect, since it came from me, was also the most dilute of my transmissions? Concentrate as you come closer, and I will entice myself into your heart. Silence is the space between sound, and I am that space between your chit-chatter projectings. That space, that silence, if you look closely, will take you back beyond lifetimes and life forms, back before sound existed, through the Om point, to the omnipresent oneness and beyond. That is you. You are that. The key to you and that is me. And I will use every trick in my book to get you to listen to my sweet songs, to my heart whispers, to my silence, and finally, beyond silence, to that which you can't imagine.
Beautiful, Virginia. Wow.
Where does
Lovely.
that come from? Where does that come from?
It came from me and Baba today. I asked
You
Baba.
wrote that? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, Baba, I asked Baba for a poem, and he.
Hey,
That was me.
would you mind just kind of reading that again?
I didn't hear where it came from.
She
I
wrote
wrote
it.
Yeah.
Oh, you
it.
wrote, oh, beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Really,
But I
really.
don't. But yeah, I asked Baba first, so I think me and Baba. Okay. My voice seemed so real, so concrete, a thunderclap and dulcet tone in my presence. Something you could grab onto and remember when I went away. But what if I told you that my spoken word, while perfect since it came from me, was also the most dilute of my transmissions. Concentrate as you come closer, and I will entice myself into your heart. Silence is the space between sound, and I am that space between your chit-chatter projectings. That space, that silence, if you look closely, will take you back beyond lifetimes and life forms, back before sound existed, through the point to the omnipresent oneness and beyond. That is you. You are that. The key to you and that is me. And I will use every trick in my book to get you to listen to my sweet songs, to my heart whispers, to my silence, and finally, beyond silence, to that which you can't imagine.
Wow, lovely.
Wow.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay.
Robert O. Yes.
J Bob, everybody. I have a
Yeah.
poem. I have a poem that I wrote as well a few weeks ago, and I titled it "Baba's Silence." Who could sacrifice their voice but God? For 44 years, who could do this? Only God. I certainly couldn't do it. I couldn't even conceive of doing it. I'm wondering how I'm going to manage to do it for one day. Yet Baba was able to do it without a single complaint. And with a continuous smile. When he suffered his accidents, he suffered in silence, without a complaint. Who could do this but God? How was he able to attract a following with his silence? It was his silent presence that spoke volumes. Just to look at Baba was all it took. The book, God Speaks, spoke volumes, yet he never spoke a word. It was all done with the alphabet board. Who does this? Who could do this? But God. Baba sacrificed his voice for us to hear what his silence had to say. God is the only one who in silence speaks. Thank you, Baba.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yeah, wonderful.
Beautiful.
Jim.
J Baba.
Jim, but we don't see you. You're back in the dark again. Oh.
Oh, here I am. Sorry. The light. Too much. No, I just, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Two things. One, I just thought I would pass on, and anyone who wants to possibly use this idea, feel free. One of the things of course, for those who don't know, I'm in Australia at near Avatar's abode, and we're planning on the 9th to do something to commemorate all these years of Baba's silence in kind of sort of active meditation, I guess you could call it, which is also going to be a form of a japti. So the idea is very simple. We'll form a circle. Actually, we'll have Baba's sandals and his sadra in the center of the circle. And around the circle, we'll sit. Depending on how many people you have, various ways you can do this. But anyway, we'll sit. There's probably be about 15 of us, I would estimate. And one person will announce 1925. And then we'll go around one person at a time, like a clock ticking off. Baba's name, Baba's name, Baba's name. And we'll go all around the circle. And then we'll say 1926, Baba's name, Baba's name, Baba's name. And we're going to do that for the whole 100 years, ticking off that just as a kind of a way to honor, like some of what people have been talking about, what Baba put himself through for all those years of his silence. Just to kind of have that kind of sense of the time of that, even in this small way, to kind of bring that into kind of a reality for us. Anyway, that's something we're going to do. I think it could be very interesting. and we'll see how it goes. But again, feel free, anyone who wants to play with that idea.
Yeah. Great, Jim. Was that your brainstorm or?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I was trying
Yeah.
to think of something we could
Yeah.
do for Silence Day.
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
pre-Silence Day.
Great
Pre-Silence Day.
idea. Great idea. Yeah. Anyone
So-
else want to venture forth?
Can
yeah.
I say?
Yeah.
That was number one. Number two is I have a quote. So I collected some quotes on what Baba said about his silence, and this is one. We read these out. We had our main meeting for for the group here actually on Saturday, and we read these out, and this is one of them. So I collected numbers of quotes and I kind of assembled them together in some way. So I'll just read this one out. These were, when we did this, we felt it was, the power of what Baba was doing, the work that he was doing with his silence. It's something that I myself, I think, take for granted and hardly even think about. And then, but studying or reading and finding these quotes kind of brought home to me the significance of his silence, which I had, like I said, kind of let go. Anyway, this is Baba's quotes. God's truth cannot be ignored, and thus mankind, God's truth cannot be ignored, and thus, by mankind's ignorance and weakness, a tremendous adverse reaction is produced, and the world finds itself in a cauldron of suffering through wars, hate, conflicting ideologies, and nature's rebellion in the form of floods, famine, earthquakes, and other disasters. Ultimately, when the apex is reached, God manifests anew in human form to guide mankind in the destruction of self-created evil, that it may be reestablished in the divine truth. My silence and the imminent breaking of my silence is to save mankind from the monumental forces of ignorance and to fulfill the divine plan of universal unity. The breaking of my silence will reveal to man the universal oneness of God, which will bring about the universal brotherhood of man. My silence had to be, the breaking of my silence has to be soon. My mission is to utter the word of truth, which will pierce the mind of the world and go to its very heart. It will convey the simple truth in its utter and indefinable simplicity. It will mark the moment of fulfillment of the divine life. It will throw open new gates to eternity. It will bring new hope to despairing humanity. I intend, when I speak, to reveal the one supreme self which is in all. This accomplished, the idea of self as a limited, separate entity will disappear, and with it will vanish self-interest. Cooperation will replace competition. Certainty will replace fear. Generosity will replace greed. Exploitation will disappear. The benefits that shall occur to different nations and countries when I bring about the spiritual upheaval will be largely determined by the amount of energy each possesses. The greater the energy, however misapplied, the greater the response. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Beautiful.
So,
Haven't heard that in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Now we've got the translator of Hafiz.
Thursday.
Okay, Baba. Yes, you asked me to look up what Hafiz had to say about silence, and I did. And there was about 14 references in volume 1 in the book that I just released about silence or silent. So I had to pick one. I couldn't read all 14. And this one is Ghazal 236, and I already made a minor adjustment to it. Should I read the Farsi first?
Oh, well, read just a little bit of it so we can get the flavor of it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll read 2 lines of it.
Yeah.
گفتم, and this is in the style of the what's called sohbat, which is the conversation between the lover and the beloved. And of course, the beloved responds in his silent word, without words coming from the mouth, who is the soul of souls, and he speaks in the heart of the poet. گفتم غم تو دارم گفتا غمت سرآید گفتم که ماه من شو گفتا اگر برآید گفتم ز مهرورزان رسم وفا بیاموز گفتا ز ماهرویان این کار کمتر آید. Okay, that's 2 lines.
Yeah.
Hafiz says, I said, I am suffering in your love. He said, your suffering will end. I said, be my moon. He said, if it rises. I said, learn the ways of loyalty from lovers. He said, this is not something moon-faced beauties do often. I said, the scent of your hair has made me lose my way in the world. He said, if you could understand that deeply, it will become your guide. I said, the longing to kiss your lips has killed me. He said, become the perfect slave so he can come as your sustainer. I said, when will your compassionate heart make peace with me? He said, endure the cruelty until its time comes to an end. I said, I should block the path of thoughts of you from my mind. He said, they travel at night and will come from another road. I said, how pleasant is the air that rises from the garden of paradise. He said, how cool is the breeze that blows from the house of the friend. I said, did you see how the time of merriment came to an end? He said, be silent, Hafez. This sadness too will come to an end. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, thank
Jai
you.
Baba.
Read that last couplet again.
I said, did you see how the time of merriment came to an end? He said, be silent, Hafez. This sadness too will come to an end.
Beautiful.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jerry.
So Jai Baba, so Jeff, you mentioned our rooming together, and it brought me to a place of remembering all the songs that we sang, and just in innocence together with everybody who was around us. It was lovely, and this song has come out from me, and I wanted to share it. And I really didn't think about this until everybody started expressing and sharing their poems. So I'm going to just read the song as a poem. The song is Come Lord in Silence, and of course it's meant for Silence Day.
I mean, you can't play it on your guitar there, or?
No, I don't think prepared for that, but I think
Okay, yeah.
I can send it separately by an email, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, okay.
okay. So Come Lord in Silence. The silence of this night gives birth to holy light. Received within, at last the word is born. Darkness burns without a trace, golden halo upon his face. Those who see bow down to him in grace. In the chorus, the silence is awakening, awakening, awakening. The silence is awakening within. Come, Lord, in silence. Come, Lord, in peace. Come, Lord, to awaken us from our ignorance and sleep. Come, Lord, in silence. Come, Lord, in peace. Come, Lord, to awaken us from our ignorance and sleep. He comes to fill our hearts and free us deep within. No one else can break these chains that bind. The path to him weaves on through sorrow, joy, and song. Meher Baba awakens hearts to his real dawn. As centuries race by, men call out asking why you come to us and leave us again. Our hearts yearn for you. We know not what to do, but give ourselves wholly to you. The silence is awakening, awakening, awakening. The silence is awakening within. Come, Lord, in silence. Come, Lord, in peace. Come, Lord, to awaken us from our ignorance and sleep. Come, Lord, in silence. Come, Lord, in peace. Come, Lord, to awaken us from our ignorance and sleep. Jai Baba.
Hey, beautiful,
Jai
Jerry.
Baba, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Ellen. Yeah.
I found a quote, but I'm not feeling moved to read it. I saw this week a very short video of one of the Argentinians singing on the Merzad porch. It was current video in Spanish, and Mart Tritschke was there. And somehow Baba's silence was so palpable in that, at that, there, then, here, now. So the quote that I wanted to share is Baba saying, if my silence cannot speak, of what use would be words? Jai Baba.
Yeah. Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Yep. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that one, Ellen.
Yeah,
Bob.
yeah. Oh, yeah, Ellen, say
sorry.
that last little thing again.
Say what Baba said again. Okay.
Yeah.
If my silence cannot speak, there are various versions. If my silence cannot speak to you, of what use would be words? If my silence cannot speak, of what use would be words?
Yeah. Thank you. And
Bob.
now from Denver.
Yes, I'd like to, this is let me find it here. This is from Lord May Hear, and it's from 1967, something that Baba conveyed to Louis van Gasteren. Quote, "This is the 43rd year of my silence. It is a continuous silence without any break. Almost every year, I tell my followers that next year I will break my silence, and yet I continue to be silent. It is like the doctor who knows that it will take a month to cure his patient, yet when he sees the patient, he wants to comfort him, so he says, 'Don't worry, after 7 days you will be all right.' Every week the doctor repeats this, and in due time the patient does get well. So I tell my devotees and the world that I will be speaking next year or sometime after next year, and yet I continue my silence. But now, positively, I'm going to break my silence very soon, because the time for the cure is coming, and the patients are also getting impatient for the cure." Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Very
Jai
good. Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Yeah.
It's very good. Thanks, Bob. Roxy.
Hey, Baba, everyone.
Yeah, there she is.
I haven't been here for so long. My heart is pounding, so I should come more often, I guess. I'm going to read a poem I wrote about silence, so thank you for listening. It's called What Ifs. Unfathomable, unlimited, beyond imagination's and conceptions, repeated day in, day out. Yet, many minds chasing the air, aiming to box it up. Heart holding the key, aches and sorrows, expanding it more and more, and still yet more. How can one jam an ocean in a bottle, claiming I got this, but really, who gets it? Mind is there to guide, heart's there to pull, to the space where silence is loud and peace is war. Words incompetent to depict the truth, not because of lack, but abundance, pulling us outside in lieu of diving in, listening for the hush, the whisper in my ears, singing even. What if breaking his silence is not instantaneous? What if he breaks it one person at a time, when they're ready, when they are quiet enough to hear it, whispering to their heart rather than the ear? So many what ifs, so little aptitude, patiently waiting to speak gently to my heart. None can hear him, but with ears divine and hearts pure. None can hear you, but with ears divine. Your silence has been broken. We just must wait for it. Jai Baba.
Wow, lovely, Roxy. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Anyone anyone
Yes, Robert.
I have a quote, but I don't think Jim has spoken. If Jim hasn't spoken, I want to let Jim go first.
no, he has.
Oh, okay.
Australia.
Oh, right. Okay.
That guy, you know, that's way down under. Yeah.
Down under.
Okie doke. Jay Baba, I have a quote from Baba from Life at its Best, page 62 to 63. The title is A Divine Life. The silence which I have been observing is not intended to veil my truth, but to manifest it. When you realize the truth as the very core of your being, you are free from all fear and helplessness, and all rivalries and conflicts reveal themselves to be meaningless. For you know yourself to be inviolably one with all that has life. To the struggling, failing, and faltering humanity, I say, have faith. Turn to God in complete surrenderance and receive the divine love. You are equally a part of the one indivisible divine life. There is not a single atom that does not vibrate with this divine life. There is no need for anyone to despair. The greatest of sinners, as well as the greatest of saints, has the same unfailing, divine assurance. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Yeah. What words?
Yes, Jim.
Okay, yeah, well, I thought to read another quote because of the earlier reference to what Baba said, in that film about the patients and the cure. So this is another quote, a similar quote. I had not heard this one before, and I thought it's a lovely quote. The present world chaos is the beginning of spiritual manifestation. To illustrate, if a man develops a cataract in his eyes, the cataract raises a curtain over his vision and he cannot see properly. The only remedy is to remove the curtain, which means an operation by an eye specialist, but not before the doctor sees that the cataract is ripe enough for the operation. Otherwise, he allows it to grow ripe. Similarly, the present chaotic conditions of the world is due to materialism, which has developed self-interest and greed in mankind, raising a curtain which obstructs spiritual vision and development. It has grown so bad now as to create chaos all over the world, a clear indication that the cataract is quite ripe and ready for the operation. The operation over, the disease of ignorance, greed, and lust will be removed, and the spiritual vision of the world will once again be restored. The doctor master is ready for the operation, awaiting only the ripening of the cataract. And then I'll read one last one. When I break my silence after, the world will come to me, for they shall know who I am. But there is no charm in coming to me after I break my silence. Blessed are those who come to me now. Baba showers his benediction silently on suffering humanity. Blessed are those who have recognized Meher Baba, God in human form. Deba.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Wow. Yes, Rich.
I've been thinking about this, and we all know of the outer manifestation in the gross world that Baba was particularly preoccupied with during the must work in the subtle world and beyond. But for me, I've noticed that it's that mental chatter in my own mind, heart, whether you call it desire or longing or just Chaitanya, the upabhog of our daily lives. But it's that chatter, that mind chatter. When that mind chatter settles down, I can sort of begin to hear Baba's silence. And that gives me peace. That's all I have to say. Hey, Baba. Thank you.
I think I'll follow. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to follow with a little quote because it kind of fits into what you said, Rich. This is from Baba. External silence helps the inner silence, and only internal silence is Baba found in profound inner silence. I am never silent, and I speak eternally. The voice that is heard deep within the soul is my voice. External silence helps the inner silence, and only in internal silence is Baba found, in profound internal silence. I am never silent, I speak eternally, and the voice that is heard deep within the soul is my voice. So my question is, what is deep internal, profound internal silence?
Anyone want to venture forward on that?
Yes, those who wish to speak the non-dual, go right ahead, please.
It's the sound of one hand clapping.
Oh, very good, Virginia.
But there's the rest of that quote. The rest of that quote goes on that says that I am the voice, the intuition of there's three or four
Inspiration and
aspects.
guidance.
That's right.
Through those who are receptive to this voice I speak, right? That's the quote.
Yeah, it's when the mind chatter stops and the beloved has a chance to sneak through all that chatter, because that's what stops the intuition, because it's the mind.
When I began, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but when I began the silences here at the center over the years, decades ago, I would be at work, so it would be like frustrating, mentally frustrating to have to be observing silence and working at the same time. and because it was such a departure from, uh-oh, I got a call coming in. Of all things, I'm on duty. Uh, Go ahead.
Okay, you go get the call. Rich, you have something? Or is your hand still up?
I'm sorry. I'll put it down.
Oh, don't be sorry. It's my fault. I don't know how to put it down. Anything else?
I love breaking. I love being silent when I was at work. I used to do portraits and caricatures at a market, and I would have all these people come, and I would have to make gestures and signs and notes, and people were always very intrigued by this whole procedure of my being silent. It was actually and then I would, and I might indicate if they really were asking, I might, scribble or show a picture of Baba so that they would have some idea of why I was doing this. It was actually, I actually enjoyed it. So I didn't find it difficult. I just found it intriguing.
You kind of went along with the silence, kind of the and the artwork, huh? The whole
Yes, exactly.
package. Mhm.
But Jeff, you were talking about your experience.
Well, so you may notice this yourself, but now after years, of observing silence, year after year, I'm able, just in the intervening years, Baba has enabled me to go into a deep quiet within, in spite of life going on and the activities. So sometimes I find myself swimming in Baba's.
Did they answer
serene-
the phone at the center on Silence Day?
No, you get a message.
I do get a message.
You get a recorded message that tells you that you've just broken your silence for calling. No, no. It's funny. Rana was here with Kitty. Rana, one of the women Mandali, on Silence Day and she was over at Dilruba with Kitty and Elizabeth, and the phone started ringing and ringing and ringing, and Rana piped up and said, "Isn't anybody gonna answer the phone?" That was it for her. But anyway, but I think, I don't know if you folks find this, but the silence after all these years, it's easier to get to that deeper place with Baba within, whereas it used to be a little bit of a mental effort for me, but now it's easy to sink back into that. But we got Bing there, I see.
Yeah, a little story about the impact of Baba's silence in particular instance. About 2 years ago, I was drawn to. Can you hear me okay with
Yeah,
this?
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was drawn to look into Heartland Center more. You heard about Baba's accident, etc. And so I went there in October 2023. And one of the things I learned was, Dr. Burlinson, who attended Baba, was tending Mara, who, another revelation, Mara's injuries were actually more life-threatening than those to Mara Baba. And I don't know of any other instance where she participated in his work in such a way. Anyway, everybody was telling Burlinson while he's attending Mara, go check on Baba, go check on Baba. So, he finally agreed to do that. He went in there, and Baba was smiling and just, how he might do, and go back. And later
Go
found
back to
out,
Mara. Go.
yeah,
He wanted to go back to Mara. Yeah.
100%. And later, Burlinson then, sometime later, looked at Baba's X-rays and injuries and so forth, and he was so amazed at Baba's silence that he really had a very profound appreciation for Mayor Baba. Well, what's the impact of that? Burlinson was a very leading figure in Prague, Oklahoma, population 2,500 or so, along with his partner, Mr. Morrison. They not only founded the hospital and helped it through financial times, they also provided land and a funding source for the schools. And in part because Heartland Center, I think, Carolyn Ball and David Nordine, got things rolling and bought Burlington House and Morrison House, that the town recognizing that Burlington, a very honored figure, appreciated Mayor Baba and Mayor Baba community, is really showing great regard for the homes and these people. And as a result of that, you may have heard that the accident site recently was purchased by Heartland Center. That is in part because of the good relationships with this unusual religious leaning something and this conservative Christian community. Is unusual to say the least, but it is a very good relationship. And the seller, in addition to calling on Amartithi Baba's birthday, the anniversary of the accident, and the day of closing, the closing date was the day Baba and Mary were released from the hospital. So a lot of coincidence, but that they felt they would be honored to have this in the hands of Heartland and their family member. Anyway, impact of Baba's silence was quite something for Dr. Burlington, for sure.
Yeah, beautiful. That's lovely.
I have to chime in just a second because the synchronicity of this is just too much. So Julia Margaret, being, as you may know, has now moved to Texas. She's in Boerne, Texas.
That's his daughter.
That is Dr. Burlington's daughter.
Yeah.
So she's now in the middle of Texas, and we're connecting with her. And she was on a Zoom call for us scheduled for Friday at 3:00, and she calls right at 3:00 saying, "Oh my God, I'm in the middle of an imminent flood." And you probably have seen on the news this terrible floods that have come into Kerrville. 67 people were killed.
Right.
And Julia Margaret called right at the beginning of the meeting and said, "Look, I've got my donkeys, I've got my goats, I've got my houses, I've got my family. All of this is in jeopardy, and Jai Baba." And so we spent some time connecting with her. Talked to her the next day. She's totally fine. The blood came up on her property about a third of the way, and so she and all of her family and all of her donkeys and goats are perfectly fine. But it seems sensible to pour our hearts and prayers to all the people that have suffered in all these natural tragedies, both here in the hill country of Texas, as well as in the hill country of North Carolina and so forth. So
throw Los Angeles in there too.
And throw Los Angeles, absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
So Jai Baba, and thanks for letting me share that. So much love to everybody from Julia Margaret and company. She's very, very grateful to have a Baba community, and I know, being that if you wanted to reach out to her, I'm sure she'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
What is
beautiful. Yeah.
What's the name of the town that she lives in?
It's called Boerne, but it's spelled Boerne, Boerne.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kerrville is where all the flooding was, which is right next door. It's the Guadalupe River runs right through the property that she lives on, which is the river that flooded, and all the campers who were, down there, adults and children, were washed into the water.
Yeah.
Jeff, you want to check the time?
Yeah. I was thinking we're coming kind of to the end of our time, but does anyone have, on a lighter note, something where they goofed up on their, that might be a funny and amusing, where they completely messed up their silence in some amusing way, where they broke their silence? Anyone have anything of that comes to mind? Oh, let's see. I'm checking. Wow. I know, of course, you got one thing, there's a couple of things you have to be careful of that's very easy to break your silence, is if you're reading a book in which no one in the book is observing silence, And then someone comes in the room and you look up and you just start naturally speaking to them because you've just been spending time in the world of a novel where everybody's talking. So be careful when you read. The other is more people have broken their silence in talking to their dog or their cat.
I was going to
Yes.
say the dog.
You got to be careful. So, there are very funny ways that,
My
and then
get
a
rather
common,
confused.
say that again?
Huh?
I said my cats get very confused on Silence Day because usually I'm just chattering away with them all day long,
Yeah.
and they get very, very uneasy about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, I want, Tony, there's a book, there's a quote about us, something, and my lovers love me in my silence. Silent is, do you know that quote?
Sort of, but it's not coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
darn.
But I did want to ask if I could sing a relatively short song. I was going to try and play it off the computer, but it was not coming out right. A cappella, Pete Townsend's Day of Silence. I think
Okay, you can't play it on the guitar?
no. But when you're feeling low, try a day of silence. Take things very slow. Maybe listen to the wireless. Never speak a sound. Sit up on the hedgerow. Watch the world go round. Peace will let your mind know. When you've had a row, sit alone, say nothing. It's really funny how you'll quickly see that something wonderful and warm lies between each second in every silent hour. Eternity will beckon. You and me, we are part of a single soul, and one day we will know we're one. Sit and listen, the word will come. There is nothing beneath the sun that you can't realize. And one peaceful night will remind us it's all right. And we'll figure we owe it all to one life of silence. Whispers will emerge, proud against the thunder. The wind, his precious urge, will raise our voices rumble. Watch each beck and call, hear it splash like sea spray. Someone sees it all. We will meet him someday. When you're feeling low, try a day of silence. Take things very slow. Maybe listen to the wireless. J. Baba.
Beautiful, Tony.
I love that
Beautiful.
song.
What a lovely song. Hey, so we've got, unless someone has a final quote.
Oh, go here.
Oh,
I do, Jeff.
yeah. And then we'll have a moment of silence after she finishes, and then we'll go to Nasreen to kick us out of the tavern. Okay.
Okay, so Baba says, ages and ages ago, I did perform a great miracle, and the whole of this illusion of creation came from me. I will perform another such miracle this time when I break my silence. That will be the first and last miracle in my present incarnation. Expect no other miracle from me. Jai Baba.
Let's have some actual silence here. Jai Baba.
Oh,
And now Nasreen.
Yes, sir. Yes. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba.
Now you're all free. Yes.
Yeah, be slow.
Was
Yeah, be
that
slow.
easy, Jeff?
Yeah.
Everybody was in the jail.
Yeah.
Now you're free.
Yes. So next week we'll have effort and grace, where we'll continue where we left off. Next week it's about a little bit more about the creating of veils that we do inadvertently and sometimes consciously, and then the following chapter is about dispelling veils, things that we can do and help Baba in clearing up. But thank you all for coming from all over. I see Hardik there. He's, anything about silence that comes to mind.
I read one story, but I don't know the full story. It was about in one of the function, Meher Baba received so many letters from the visitors, and there was a lack of time or rush. So he asked everybody to write these questions and give it to me. So everybody wrote its questions and submitted their letters to him. But one of the men, Mandali, said that, Baba, how would we reply to all these letters? We don't have time. So Meher Baba said, just wait for some time. And then one by one, these visitors or the guests, they came back and collected their letters back. And upon asking, they said that we got the answers. So they all received the answer from within, from their heart.
Yeah, I remember. Beautiful. I remember that story. Yeah. And some people would have, one guy he had all these questions, and Bao was just hoping that he was going to ask these questions, because he was very interested in himself. And when the guy came up for Baba's darshan, he had said, he's supposed to bring all these questions. And he's just sitting there not asking the questions, and Bao was trying to prompt him, ask, and and afterwards he said, what, I thought you were going to ask those questions. All of the questions dissolved in Baba's presence. He couldn't, that's what happens. Yeah. Hey, so anyway, unless there are any little last moment comments.
A little,
Yeah.
Happy Silence Day, everyone.
Happy
Yeah,
Silence
happy
See you in
Day,
2
Baba.
weeks.
Happy-
Speaking of Silence Day, Baba Zoom has an entire Silence Day program, and my friends Jeff Beadle and Deb Johnny have created a beautiful little presentation, slide presentation, the stories around Baba's silence, that is very charming. And I invite you all to tune into their schedule and try to catch a hold of that.
Wow.
And of course, if you cannot that day, you can always catch it on Baba Zoom YouTube.
Who put that together first day?
Jeffrey Beadle and Deb Johnny. In fact, they made it for the India program. I think that India has a 2-day, maybe a 2 or 3 day program around the silence, but their program didn't make the cut for whatever reason. I found it rather charming and beautiful. So it's a lot of maybe Indian players this Silence Day program. So we will watch it here and enjoy it in the West.
Yeah. Okay, well, all of you have a wonderful Silence Day, and I hope you're not in difficult situations where someone is thinking you're a deaf mute or something like that, because you're not responding normally.
Carry a notepad and a pencil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps to have a little button that says I'm keeping silence.
Yeah. Anyway, much love.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Jai
Baba,
Baba.
everyone.
Jai Baba, Jai
Baba.
Baba,
Jai Baba.
Jai
Yeah,
Baba.
Anita. Nice to see you, Anita.
Jai Baba.
Oh,
Wait to see you
wait.
too.
Jai
Who?
Baba.
Is there a child there somewhere?
Who's that little
Uh,
one?
yes, it's
Oh, it's Hadri.
Jay
Oh, Jai
Hi.
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Oh,
Ah,
precious.
how sweet.
How sweet. All right. Much
Oh.
love. Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.